recording. We are live. Kaitlin is still in her prison cell and has not moved. You haven't moved yet.
I should be moved by next week. Yeah, we have to be out by the end of January. And yeah, it's been a process because I'm still working right now. And today I do work on Sundays and I took a full day off. And so I got to finish up today.
Well, good luck. You've got 8 more days. Well, it's 9 more days until the end of the month. Do you know what else happens at the end of the month?
What?
The MassGOP state chair election.
That's right.
Where Jim, I got to give credit to Howie Carr for this one. Jim Jones Lyons.
Howie has been on this. He has been on this. And I don't know if it really has to do with like money and ad revenue anymore. I think that it is like it's personal and he believes that Jim needs to go. But we've been riding that train for years.
Yeah, he does need to go, and he sucks. I'm surprised at how many people are twisting themselves into logical pretzels trying to defend Jim and sticking up for him. I mean, like, this isn't gonna go well. Like, there needs to there needs to be a list. They need to be put on a list to be like, all right, these committee members, you got to target them to get them gone for the next election, which will be taking place Super Tuesday of 2024. So we got a full year to prepare it. So
you can't defend them. Like we don't have anybody elected right now. There's no defense.
No,
especially after it came out in the Boston Globe this week. Do we want to talk about that too?
Why don't you get into it?
Okay, so I read this piece. I get the Boston Globe to my email, but I don't subscribe. Jim decided to spend $1,800 on Oppo research on fellow Republicans, and $1,000 of that came out of his own pocket, and $800 came out of the MassGOP bank account. And so I'm wondering how that was approved.
It probably wasn't approved. I mean,
so
that's a psycho move. That is a psycho move.
So why is the treasurer not like?
Well,
I don't know.
The treasurer, Pat Crowley, who's been in the papers and been doing the right thing on that front, has been alerting OCPF to all these possible violations, which we'll get into the other violation in a second because that's happened since the last time we recorded.
Good on him for doing that too.
Yep.
We want him for doing the right thing. We know that you're working in opposition of somebody who is like not doing the right thing, and thank you.
No, it's legit good. I mean, he is doing the right thing and pointing this out. Look, Jim is getting away with stuff that is now at this point arguably illegal. And the people who are supporting him, and if you're signing checks, if you're involved with that, you need to seriously consider, your own future on that. If you are a member of the party and you are working with a PAC and coordinating with that PAC, I don't know what the penalties are directly. If you were signing checks when you're probably not authorized to sign checks, especially if you're, Pat Crowley, I guess, froze the bank accounts months ago because Jim wasn't following the bylaws of the committee. So he did that, and if you freeze the accounts and yet you're still trying to write checks, it's arguable. This is debatable whether you're operating within the parameters of the law. So yeah, Oppo research against fellow state committee Republicans. I mean, what are you gonna find? Even if you find something, what are you gonna find that does anything? I guess it was he doesn't like Lindsay Valenzuela, who I don't know, he was trying to say that she doesn't live in the state or doesn't live in the district or something like that. Wasting his time doing this nonsense. And lying about how there's some sort of money that Charlie Baker stole and gave to Democrats. I mean, these are just lies.
what is it? He's doing these debates on like whether or not he should run for state chair at different RTCs who are hosting them. He's just going out and like complaining about Charlie Baker in the middle of these debates. And we're watching the videos of this, and they're in Western Mass. So like, of course, Jeff and I can't attend, but it's like,
and
what are you doing?
That's purposeful too. He's not doing anything east of like really Worcester or, you know, anything close to the city. It's all in sort of pockets where he has some semblance of support. And Jessica Machado, who I'm not really that familiar with, but I follow her on Twitter. She attended some of the meetings and has been on top of this and did a tweet thread of one of the meetings where he was just nonsensical.
But yes, she's just been on it, which has been awesome to watch and see her reporting on it, but like, or reporting in a very biased way. But at the same time, it's like, this is nuts. Like
there was one thread or tweet in that thread where she's like, Jeff Deal pipes up and goes, look, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. And I was like, oh God. I wish I was there, because I was like, you can't do either. Like you none of them are incompetent to the point of absurdity. This is all just like, it's bonkers when you let the crazies take over the asylum, which is what has happened. All these people need to go and go away for good. Like, go live your life, go get a job, move out of Massachusetts if you really can't stand it. You've lost the fight. And this is the thing I really want people to pay attention to right now, right here. This is what I'm about to say. Jim, in his retarded speeches, will constantly talk about how he's going to fight, and he's going to fight for this and fight for that and fight for the money that comes back to you and all these stupid lawsuits he's engaged in. He is bad at fighting. He does not know how to fight. Okay.
He's not even fighting. He's engaged in a circular oh my God.
But he's not, you're right. He's not fighting. He's suing people and sending out emails.
Right. He's punching right and then saying he's fighting. Okay. So you and I this is what pisses me off. You and I get called RINOs because we complain about fellow Republicans when they act like this. And they're like, oh my God, Reagan's 11th commandment and all this other bullshit. It's like, the state chair spent $800 on Oppo research on fellow Republicans. And we get called the RINOs.
No,
and people are sending this.
But we get called RINOs by incredibly stupid. Well, I would use the same word I just used before.
And now with that, when we get called RINOs, they're like, oh my gosh, stop criticizing us. It doesn't help anything. Are you serious? You just spent the last 3 years calling us every name in the book for just criticizing you.
And then
reasonable criticisms. But now you can't handle it and you want to call for unity?
And when they lose,
the unity terms, I'm sorry, it is actually a conditional surrender that you must go through. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, I'm at like World War I, but there's going to be no World War II because you're not going to ever be in power anymore. Like, this is a conditional surrender. Yeah, we're done.
They have demonstrated fully that they are incapable of holding the reins of power. They're unserious people. Look, all of them that defend Jim are unserious people. They don't have serious jobs.
He's lost some defenders too, like some hardcore ones that he's had. Although they're like, oh well, we need unity now because they want to like save their own skins and be involved later in the party. Which you know, maybe we'll all think about that because we can all see it.
No, they need to go. They need to go too.
You're a hard line.
Yeah, I am. No, because look, I'm telling you, you cannot look. I've been in this game a little bit longer than you for a few years, and I've seen them. You cannot work with these people. You can't work with them. Don't even bother. There are people who don't like confrontation, don't want to argue about it, and they think that, well, come on, guys, let's just get along in unity, and I just want to beat the Democrats. And it's like, okay, so do I. But you can't work with the people that would rather burn it down and lose their way than beat Democrats. Those people, you can't work with them, and they need to go. They need to go up and down the committee, at the top of the leadership too. And Jim leads the charge. I had something to say that
Jim is okay. So like, let's look at like the RNC chair race, right? So it's right now between Harmeet Dillon and Ronna McDaniel, and I am on board with Ronna McDaniel. Has been in this position for a long time. I wanted Lee Zeldin, right? Like that's who I wanted to eventually be RNC chair, because he's good, he's effective. He just went through an election where he saved 4 House seats for Republicans. And that's one of the things that people need to realize. We have the same House margin that Democrats had in 2020. Okay. So like this midterm did not go well for us. And the reason why it didn't go well for us is because we lost indies. Like Republicans showed up to the polls. Okay. So whenever you hear from the data that Trumpers stayed home and like rule vote, yes. Okay. Like I understand a little bit of the rule vote in specific states like Nevada. Do not understand them in Pennsylvania. Okay. The base showed up, or they ended up showing up and voting. Like in Pennsylvania, a lot of Trump counties voted for Fetterman. Okay. And they voted for Shapiro too. Okay. They did not vote for the Republican, or we overwhelmingly showed up. The indies, the independents, were scared off in specific states by our Trump candidates, like Carrie Lake, like Doug Mastriano. Adam Laxalt has always been weak when he has run statewide. In Nevada, that's what happened. And a lot of the rural vote did not come out to vote. In Georgia, the independents did not show up for Herschel Walker. They ended up voting for, they either didn't vote or they voted for Raphael Walker, because you see Brian Kemp getting +8, right? Like he took on a primary from the right with the Trump candidate and ended up winning by 8.
And an important point here is it's not a question of conservative or more liberal in the terms of a political position on any given issue. It's not, and that's clear, because it is more about the Trumpy populist crazy aspect, like bonkers, like who's the Senate candidate up in New Hampshire?
Bolduc,
right?
Bolduc.
When Carrie Lake or Bolduc buy into Trump's, show fealty to Trump and say, yes, the 2020 election was stolen from you. You're the rightful president. You're going to be installed as president. When they buy into that nonsense, you've automatically disqualified yourself. And if you're a voter in the middle and the Democratic Party, and Chuck Schumer is pushing you in the primary, but flips it for the general, and you are told, oh crap, he's bonkers, and you just get a whiff of that crazy, you're Republican, you know about it, you're like, I'm not voting for that person, I'm staying home. And that's what happened. It's the crazy, it's not the policy.
My ultimate point here is that the normies won overwhelmingly. The Republican normies won. Brian Kemp won. Greg Abbott won overwhelmingly in Texas. Ron DeSantis rebuilt Florida GOP and just curb stomped in Florida. Okay. It was like that big. Who else overwhelmingly won? We won with Lee Zeldin, who acted like a normal Republican, didn't run elections on Trump. We got 4 House seats in New York. We don't even have a functioning New York GOP state party in that state. And he got 4 House seats. Okay, guys. In Massachusetts, we don't have a functioning state party, and we lost state, House, and Senate seats, and we lost down ballot across the board. Yeah. Okay. When Anthony is our highest vote count in the state, that's a problem. Okay.
And Anthony, we love Anthony, R.I.P. Anthony. He didn't even come close. He was the highest vote getter and still didn't even come close. So this is how.
But down matters. Okay, so down ballot matters. Okay, so if we had somebody at the top of the ballot like Charlie Baker, Anthony would have been a closer get. Okay, so people don't understand this. You need someone at the top of the ballot that can bring the entire ballot forward. Okay, so what we had was Jeff Deal, who decided to jump on the Trump train and go hardcore into that in order to win a primary. So you purposely went hardcore conservative, went hardcore Trumpy, which puts off all the independents, because they're Massachusetts mostly independents, but they're left-leaning independents or they're centrists that you're going to have to bring to the right. Okay, you did that, and no one wanted to vote for you. So of course, Maura Healey's governorship seems like a coronation. Like I don't understand how people are not realizing this point. Like I
and Jim's on the record as this, and I have a screenshot somewhere. They'd rather this is the truth. They'd rather lose doing that than win. That's it. They'd rather lose being Trumpy and be able to just complain because we have such a tough time of it. And don't the Democrats stink? It's like, well, no, it's you stink.
We agree the Democrats stink, but unless you have political power, you cannot make any change.
But this is the thing. This is their attitude. This is their official attitude, Kaitlin.
I get that, Jeff. Like, but what makes me mad is that you all keep saying this, and then you go into these RTC meetings in order to have this quote unquote debate for state chair, and you're complaining about Charlie Baker again.
Right.
It's like, I don't want to hear this shit anymore. We just lost elections. Lenny Mira lost by one vote. Okay. So like, and that's close to where I live.
That $800 could have swung probably 3 votes.
With a mailer that you sent out could have been something. But what did you do? You spent it on opposition research on a state committee person. What are you doing?
So I'll point out a couple things here. One, I alluded to this in the last episode. Is it technically, did he spend it if they don't have the money to do it and they just owe it, they're in debt, right? Because right now what I've been told is, or what I've read.
So I think anytime he writes a check out of that bank account with that check or that credit card, it counts. Okay. Well, so like, because that, anything out of that account has to be filed correctly in their campaign.
From what I've read, the MassGOP is about $300,000 in debt, apparently. That could be off. I don't know. I think I read that somewhere. Now, in addition to him doing Oppo research on Republicans and spending money we don't have, but hang on. This is the other big story that happened while we were away, I guess in the last week and a half. Pat Crowley has released emails that Jim personally was coordinating with a PAC to do Oppo research on Maura Healey. I forget the name of the PAC, but this is the political parties, and this is very, very, very clear because I've sat in rooms not as a sort of humble brag here, but like I sat in rooms with potential presidential candidates while they're thinking about running, because that's what they have to say, where they're trying to drum up funding for their own PAC before they declare. There is a bright line of what you can do and what you can't do. And one thing you cannot do is coordinate with a political campaign and a PAC. They have to be separate. Now, is it a wink and a nod that they're all on the same page and doing the same things? Yeah, of course. But you can't have the personnel of the campaign or the leadership of a political party be talking to the leadership of a PAC or the staff of a PAC. They can't interact. However the message gets to them, it can't happen directly. And that, apparently, because Jim is a fucking moron, he did that.
Email trains are really super bad on this. We're not saying how to do it any otherwise, but if you're coordinating with a PAC, you definitely don't leave a paper trail, which email absolutely is.
You go to the bar or something like that and like put your phones away. You don't say, and you do it through an intermediary or something like that. You don't do that. You don't email, you moron. Like Jeff
Millay writing a check. Like
we call him stupid because like he's doing all these things, but he's genuinely stupid. He's not
legal. He's going to be in legal trouble. He's going to have to hire lawyers and take care of this. So like whether or not the party pays for these lawyers or not is going to be a question that's on the board for the state committee. You all need to think about this. Like,
by the way,
the state party should not have to hire a lawyer to protect this guy. This is the reason why we need to boot him as state chair. So if he is going into these legal issues, he has to defend himself. Okay, like that's another thing.
So there's still the question. There's still the question of, this is months old now, of the investigation between the campaign contributions between Ryan Fatman and his wife, Ryan Fatman, state senator, and his wife, who I forget what's her position out in Central Mass, but about like you're allowed to contribute to the state party from an RTC account, like a large amount of money, if not unlimited, and then the state party can then, redirect the funds, and it can help the candidates who do it. There's ways to do it legally, right? It's sort of just funneling money, bundling money. He's now, I would say the correct phrasing is under suspicion of indictment, because the indictment hasn't come on. They're doing an investigation. Now, on top of the PAC thing, that's still open. That hasn't been closed. The coordination between the RTCs and the state party, because I don't know, they gave him like 150 grand, and then he wrote a check for separate checks for 150 grand like right after. You have to make it look like it's not quid pro quo, and he does this. So like you're breaking with the PAC coordination, possible PAC coordination, possible financial misdeeds with the Fatmans. I mean, these are real legal problems. These are real legal problems. You're looking like, if they want to go after it, there's jail time involved. There's jail time involved.
And Jim would throw these two under the bus. Like, we don't even need to think about that. Like, he would, and they had such a promising political future, but like, he would throw them under the bus. And that's what's sad about this.
So, January 31st.
Do we even know like a kind of a vote count? Because right now it's split. So like
it's going to be. I mean, maybe at the end of the day it won't be closer. It won't be that close, but it's looking. It's close from what I can tell. Like I want to say more than 30 people still gonna stick it out for Jim, and one of them I think is this is the people that. Howie Carr is listed on these email threads of, they're called, I guess he calls them the Kool-Aid drinkers in honor of Jim Jones Lions. So go to Howie Carr show, at Howie Carr show, to get more info on that. Yeah, I don't know. It also depends on where he has the meeting, right? If he makes it difficult for committee members to go, the committee members, are they going to show up and vote him out? I hope they do.
Probably
they better like don't attend if you've been boycotting meetings. You can't boycott this one. I mean, he's gonna pull some shenanigans. He is a complete trash person in regards to this. Like, he really is not running the committee by its bylaws. And if you just put in somebody in there that just runs the committee as it's supposed to be,
you want to know what really sucks about this? Is that the reason why this person can be elected in the way that they are is because of the McCain-Feingold campaign finance bill that gave power to state parties over the national RNC, which in reality, and it created the super PACs and the PACs and all this other bullshit. This bill caused that. Okay. So while Democrats, even in hard red states, they're very organized, okay? And there might have their own dramas, and that's fine. Like, I can't even imagine what the Democrats of Texas have to deal with, putting up Beto and pretending that was going to work. We're dealing with this on this side, and I either get from the Trumpers, well, Mass GOP, we're not going to elect Republicans anyway, so let them have the control of the party. No. Because even Democrats in the state will admit to you in private that this state runs better when a Republican is in the governor's office and you have a Democratic state legislature, because there's a check on power. Democrats who are honest will admit that to you.
And I want to get that into that. Yeah.
A Republican governor's candidate who can win if our state party is actively working against people who can win.
Can you hear my dog, everybody?
I can hear.
All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know what she's barking at. She's a very cute dog. I've tweeted a picture. Jeez. All right. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
She's a furry little lovable thing. All right. Maybe she'll stop barking. But I want to talk about this. Is good point there, because what we have right now is Maura Healey is a newly elected governor, and Michelle Wu is been in office for mayor of Boston a year, and they are talking about rent control. So I tweeted about this earlier in the week.
And by the way, I've heard that they don't really like each other.
Maybe not. Yeah, who knows?
It is a rumor, speculation. But
there's a lot of that stuff. You find out when you find out about the Hill, like people in position, like
they do not really like each other.
Yeah, let me see if I can get the dog to be quiet here. I'm gonna text somebody downstairs. 1 second.
I mean, I'm fine with the puppy. I mean, I'm surprised that my cat's not singing right now. But yeah, Maura Healey and Michelle Wu, and they would work on rent control. Right now, we still have high inflation on housing, and so their position on this is to control the increases in rent according to inflation. Am I correct there? But
it's tied to inflation. It's a 6 to 10% cap. It's not finalized. Now, listen, if you have a 10% cap on somebody's rent of their apartment, that's pretty annually, right? So after 3 years, it can 10%, 10%, 10%. Okay, you could raise it up. But if you're doing $1,000 a month in rent for sake of numbers, because you can't rent shit in Massachusetts for $1,000 bucks. So next year's 1,100. You that?
Unless you're sharing an apartment with somebody. Yeah.
Right. No. I mean the whole apartment. Not like, but you have, so, next year it could be 1,100, the following year, whatever, 10% of 1,100, 1,200, 10, I don't know, 1,220, whatever. But if market is then from year over year, year one is 1,000, year two, you can get 1,400 or 1,500, then it becomes a problem. Then it becomes a real problem, because like the market was not, you're suppressing rents, and then housing, then it disincentivizes, landlord or builders from building, because if inflation is at 10%, your rents need to go up higher than 10%, or if your inflation's at 8 or 9%, which even 7%, needs to go up much higher than 10%. So there's a reason why we got rid of rent control in Massachusetts, because it's a terrible, terrible policy. Now, what I'm seeing right now is Michelle Wu trying to get a victory in name only, and not actually put forward a strong rent control bill. And, of course, the lefties are real up in arms about this, but she should ignore them. And she should try to get rent control off the table at all, because it'll really kill the economy of Boston. And this is a problem, because what you need, Boston needs to be building constantly. Constantly. You need...
I know. Everyone's mad about Seaport builds, and it's just you need to be building.
Constantly. And this is what people don't get. It's like you can't slow that down, because it's not just a question of the building itself and the housing. It's the jobs and the activity that it produces within the economy. I ride the train every week, going into the city, and, you see the guys with, they're bulked up in their Carhartt and their hard hats, and it's like they're coming to and from work, and you need that. When you stop seeing those guys on the train, there's a problem. There's a real problem, and you got to make sure that building still takes place. And Wu wants to take on the BPA, which is the Boston something public development, something like that. I don't know, whatever, or the Development Authority. You need that economic activity. I think Maura Healey gets that. I think. So she might be coming out against rent control, but this is all like really, really important stuff that can turn Massachusetts into San Francisco, right? We can turn ourselves into San Francisco or LA or Detroit. There's nothing unique about us in that sense that we can't just implement or Portland. We can turn into Portland. Of course we can. That's an option on the table. Just do progressive things. raise taxes, spend lots of money, put all these rules in place that inhibit economic growth, and on a dime, we'll be Portland. It's not a good choice.
My big thing would be if they ever touch police presence in Boston, that's when we turn into San Fran. One thing that I always tell people is that Boston is super progressive, and it's like a meme. They're all like I always say, I'm like, Boston is super racist, but they're super progressive about it. But
that's interesting. I wouldn't say Boston's super racist. I'd say it's as racist as any other major northeastern city like Philly or New York. You go to areas of Brooklyn,
but these
or give me a break. Come on.
Paradises, right? Yeah. Like, that's the thing about it is, it's like they always say, they're like, the South is so racist. The South is so racist. It's like, the South has done a better job of integration than Boston, Philadelphia, New York City, and it's not even funny. We have the data on that. Like, Boston is super segregated, but it's also super segregated because of this town structure. So I don't think that's ever going to change.
Well, but it's also super segregated because the Democratic Party has a vested interest in keeping it super segregated. And the latest,
I think gerrymandering started here, guys. Like, we've been through this shit. Like anytime, like, Massachusetts right now doesn't have currently fair maps. We all know this. Like, it is what it is. And so, like, so when we talk about like Boston, I always say it's like, it's super racist, but also super progressive about it. They'll say like a racist thing, but then they'll be like, but you better keep them and approve of these people. It's just like, that's kind of funny in a way where it's like, you should laugh at that because it's absurd. And, but it's Boston. It's like the MLK statue that they put in. Like, which I supposed to celebrate MLK, but at like one point of it, it looks like one thing.
It looks like some things.
Something else. And so, like, it's
if you look at it from the correct proper angle, it's okay. But it's not particularly good. I don't think it does any. I don't think it's a particularly creative or original work. I mean, just critiquing the art itself, not the message behind it. That's all.
It's a meme now. Like, I mean, like, when they unveiled it, it was like super funny because like Ayanna Presley was there and talking about it, and like Black Twitter was just like, what the fuck? You did this to celebrate MLK?
Well, speaking of Ayanna, so the Boston Herald, Joe Battenfeld, who's a complete lib over at the Boston Herald, floated Ayanna and a few other prominent people in the Black community taking on Elizabeth Warren next year for a Senate primary. Now, let me tell you something. I quote tweeted this. One, I don't think Ayanna would do it. She might do it against Ed Markey. She wouldn't do it against Elizabeth Warren. So wait 2 more years for that, and do it in a midterm year rather than actually maybe the presidential year's the time to do it. But I don't think Elizabeth Warren's that weak. And also, Ayanna Presley is not particularly likable, or in more, to go to your point, I don't see the Democratic Party nominating her instead of Elizabeth Warren for United States Senate. Joe Battenfeld put that out there. I think Ayanna Presley, if she wants to run and she somehow got the nomination, I might, and I mean this sincerely. I ran for Congress before. I can do a campaign. Hopefully I'm a little bit more well known, and I'd raise as much money as I possibly could. But I think I'd have a shot of being Ayanna in a general election, because it's just the equity of justice and the justice of equity and all the nonsense that you constantly hear her go on and on about. It's all empty, hate-filled platitudes.
I say this as somebody who's lived in like the Boston area for 10 years and is from the South. The reason why Elizabeth Warren wins is because she's able to put on this veil of lefty normalcy. She says all of the really crazy lefty populist shit where she goes up to Lowell or Lawrence and she like goes hardcore on the elite and oh my god, the corporations and all this other stuff. She goes really hardcore on that, and that's how she wins votes in Massachusetts, especially in the Berkshires, where you kind of see like the destruction of like industry out there a little bit more than you do over here, or maybe if you actually go up to Lowell a lot or Lawrence.
The exurbs, yeah. Lowell,
I,
Lawrence, Fall
I
River, yep.
yeah, I think if Ayanna Presley decided to take her on in a primary, that Liz Warren, I just think it would be a clown show, and it would like kind of put forth that like the progressive ideals are not as progressive as you think it is, because I do think there will be a racial element to that, and they'll choose Liz Warren over Ayanna Presley.
Oh, there'll be totally be a racial element. I mean, look,
yeah, and I say that as like, Ayanna, like we severely disagree. You really care about these issues, and you do like. We will disagree, but you care about it and you do it in your sincerest lefty way. But yeah, I think that would happen. I just don't think that Massachusetts is really ready for a Democratic Black leader on the federal level in this way. I just don't. I'm sorry.
Not Ayanna. I think they'd be totally.
You're gonna have to take like
Deval Patrick was also mentioned in that article, which I think would be a lot more realistic. I mean, he's
an actual politician, so like he'll like go up and talk to you. He'll agree with you. And then at the end of the day, Deval Patrick, like when the Boston bombing happened, he was great. Like I mean, like he took security very seriously. Like he's one of those Democrats that is like, he'll take the security aspect of it seriously. So like, I can trust him on those issues. I can't trust Ayanna Presley on those issues.
No.
I think Liz Warren will regurgitate the leftist line, but she will put forth those issues. I don't know. Like
Deval Patrick is an adult.
He's a little bit more
serious. He's an adult. I don't agree with him on a lot, but he's an adult. He doesn't engage in the childish spewings of Warren, Clark, Presley.
I think that's idiot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just and he'd be a more serious candidate that could get something done. Would he take her on? I don't know. He might take on Markey. Wait 2 years, right? Again, Markey's weaker and not as well liked as Warren is. But it's interesting that all the
because he's dumb. I don't want to put it out there that Ed Markey is like super stupid. Oh, like he's I mean, like in real life that he's really super stupid. Like and he just wins because he just like regurgitates like the stupidity stuff and like
I'll tell you, the Boston press better get a whiff of like, there's a lot of drama on the Democratic side between center-left progressives and center-left liberals and far-left progressives. Like that's a whole show right there. Like if the Globe wanted to get some clicks, you start diving into that. Or if you have a radio show, you start talking about how like somebody just wants, these people want socialism, but these people want communism and they're fighting it out and who they are. And I mean, that's interesting. All of it's terrible. I mean, policy wise, but at least it's interesting. All right, we covered rent control, Ayanna running for Senate, maybe Deval running for Senate against Warren. I think that's anything else going on.
No, I mean, we have a big state chair race next. Is it next weekend?
A week from Tuesday, the 31st. Tuesday. Tuesday the 31st. So a week and a half. So call your state committee.
Today or at night?
Oh, it's probably in the evening. But I wouldn't be surprised if Jim puts it, because it has to take place in January. So if he might even do some shenanigans and put it at 8 in the morning on Tuesday. Like anything is possible. I'll have to start texting the state.
Wouldn't he have already had to set this meeting date?
Probably.
Isn't there rules around that?
Probably. I mean, he set the date. It's the 31st, but I don't know where it is. I don't
know. When can it's like state committee, like just start doing a mutiny shit again. I don't know. You have to show up and do this one, but like if he gets elected again, just start
doing it. It's like when the rules start to go out the window, there's no point of clawing it back, that you can just take it over. I mean, I suppose the only other way is to reconstitute it I mean, if the people who are boycotting just be like, no, we're the actual one, you get enough people, you get 41 people to go to do their own meeting and run it that way, and just sort of remove him in that sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if once you break the rules, then you can make up any rules. That's the problem we have here, is because Jim's been ignoring the rules for so long and has been in violation of the rules for so long. It's like you can't go to the rules as an enforcement mechanism. Honestly, I mean, he could pull some stuff where it's like he literally loses the vote and just declares the vote invalid and doesn't vacate the chair. Like, there's all kinds of stuff.
I guess I have questions about this, right? And so, like, where does the state party have a lawyer that works in for the state party, but not for the state chair?
They have,
but I'm sure he's in the chair's.
But now it's like who decides who that is, and that's the chair, right? So you have to come in now. It gets stupidly complicated. All right. Well,
right.
We'll find out in a week and a half, and maybe if it's in a reasonable place, we'll pick a spot nearby. I won't even say there, because we can pick a spot nearby where we can just get together and do a live broadcast, and maybe like a nearby restaurant or something like that. Or even if it's far away, maybe do something more public where we have an inside source texting us updates and what's going on, and we can just have a few folks. All right, everybody. Listen, have a great week. We will be back, I think, next week. And we will have updates about all things Massachusetts politics and national. Don't forget to go over to patreon.com/RINOPod, where we talk about the drama between Daily Wire and Steven Crowder, who is still not funny. And it's only $1 a month. $1 a month for extra content. Come on, join the Patreon. Patreon.com/RINOPod. All right, everybody. Have a great one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.